Power is absolute justice. That's the idea that demons fight to the last drop of blood, and it lasts for an unbearably long time. And 250 years ago, there was a demon king that crushed his enemies and united the world. He was a powerful demon, and his name was Hiram. 20 years into his reign, Hiram, the demon king, challenged the demon god himself. The demon god turned to the demon king Hiram and asked him why he would not obey his divine will. Hiram received a divine decree: sacrifice 100 subjects every day. But this was too much for Hiram. Hiram replied that the earth was the world of their fleshly bodies, and they were his property. Let the god retire to his own spiritual world. God was outraged. What an arrogant response, disrespectful, rude, and he is a foolish king for defying God. Death awaited him. The overwhelming power of the demon god was released. At the same moment, the god's spiritual body took on a corporeal form. God declared to Hiram that he would now learn the difference between a demon and a god. Hiram replied that the one was on earth, so he should watch his tongue. Thus began the battle between the mightiest demon king and the demon god. The all-destroying magic of the demons clashed with the divine wonders of the demon god, and so the demon god's completely destroyed body collapsed. Hiram noted, quite naturally, incarnation in bodily form limited God, and incarnation is the reason for his defeat. God claimed it was stupid, ridiculous, and he called the demon king stupid. He is a proud and stupid demon king. How can a demon defeat the God that rules over him? Hiram replied that this is how he defeated him now. He cannot escape from divine rule. He was born a demon. That is the reason for his defeat. Hiram didn't understand what the hell the god was doing. The god demonically declared to make the king proud, to pin him to the wall and let him die. Hiram asked the god what he had done. The demon god stated that he never thought he would ever have to apply God's punishment to an earthly creature. God's punishment is not just pretty words. The god that rules the demon race can take their lives at will. He once again called the demon king stupid. The girl stood over Hiram's son and cried, not understanding how this happened. In the dark and silent room, a white stone glowed and began to draw magical circles. At the very center, a child was born. It's been a long time since the death of the demon king Hiram. This is a remote place, a month's walk or 2 months' sail from the king's castle. In a dark room in the middle of nowhere, a white stone lay on the floor. The stone was a regular dodecahedron with engraved Shinto writings. A small child took a breath and turned to heaven and earth. His name is Hiram. Even before he lost the battle with the demon god, he was preparing a reincarnation formula. He was going to defeat him. But he was still a god, and the king had to consider the possibility of defeat. After reincarnation, he can only inherit the soul and mind, as well as the spell that is closely related to the soul. In other words, after rebirth, a new body and brain are created. Hiram used accelerated growth magic. After that, the pain was terrible. It felt like every bone in his body had broken. Hiram had never thought it could hurt so much. This room was created especially for reincarnation. He enchanted her with a protective seal and prepared her clothes. Hiram wondered how many years had passed. He was supposed to be reborn 10 years after his death. The magic of reincarnation is unimaginably complex. He wasn't sure exactly 10 had passed. He saw that the seal had not been broken. He asked how much time had passed in the end. He was shocked. It was impossible. 500 years had passed. Most likely, the change of race to human had caused the magic formula to malfunction. God's punishment is killing a demon at the snap of his fingers. Knowing this, Hiram tweaked the formula just before he died. The human race is called the weakest, so much so that they have no God's protection. That's why they take a long time to grow up and don't live long. If a race has its own god, it has more magical powers. The more magic, the slower a race ages and lives longer. Those who do not have a patron and magic age quickly and do not have time to become strong. But the human race has a great potential for development. So if you keep your experience and memory, you will find that humans are the strongest race. That's why Hiram chose it. However, there are no examples of this. His horns are gone. Looks like the plan worked. It's a human body. Not bad, though he's not used to it yet. Hiram wants to see if he's the strongest. 500 years may pass, but his goal remains the same: to kill the demon god. Then he noticed that there was no seal outside, and it struck him. A girl opened the door and asked him what he was doing here. There is a dangerous dragon sleeping on this mountain. Didn't he know that? If he stayed here, he would die. The king asked the girl who she was. His name was Hiram. The girl introduced herself as Lumiere. She had come to kill the dragon. Suddenly, someone turned to her on the radio and transmitted something. Lumiere understood the information and turned to Hiram. She had an urgent matter to attend to. She would not be able to guide him to the foot of the mountain, so would he be able to go down by himself? Hiram replied that of course he could. She asked him not to take any chances. If he would wait for her here, she would pick him up when she got back. Or let him promise her not to climb the mountain. No way. Hiram replied that he would be fine, and she didn't need to worry. He noted that here she was noisy. However, the dragon was more interesting. He wondered if it was an ancient dragon. As he searched for signs of power around him, he sensed the powerful magic of a supreme dragon. Judging by the amount of magic, it was one of the strongest dragons. It was just what he needed. He had only recently reincarnated, not used to magic yet. Fighting is the best way to learn magic. Hiram ran into the cave and called out to the ancient dragon. He didn't know his name, but did he want to fight? Hiram noted that the dragon had great moves. An ancient dragon, great breathing. The magic that improves the body well, he is more effective than in his previous life. Hiram concluded that he was right about the human race. The dragon pointed out that Hiram is a very strong human. He lost to him, so he can do whatever she wants to him. Hiram urged him to rise. He was surprised that the dragon knew the human language. The dragon replied that he was, after all, ancient. Hiram noted that he was quite polite for a dragon. Apparently, he was young. The dragon replied that he was about 600 years old. He is young, but already quite strong. The dragon asked if Hiram had come for his treasure, if he would just take it. Hiram replied that he was not interested in his treasure. The dragon clarified that he wanted his body. Then let him kill him quickly and rip off the scales and fangs. Hiram noted that if he wasn't a wereth, those were bold words. He had always liked that sort of thing, so he wanted to be friends with him. The boy turned to the ancient dragon and told him to tell him his name. The dragon introduced himself as Yorm. He is the fire dragon Yorm. Hiram clarified that he already had a nickname. Did he really take it away with his victory? It was surprising that he was only 600 years old and already with a nickname. The dragon noted that he was human, but knew so much. He inquired if he too could hear the man's name. The boy replied that he was Hiram. The dragon was amazed and stated that this was unthinkable. He was the great demon king Hiram. Hiram confirmed this. The dragon noted that this turns out to be reincarnation. The demon king had activated reincarnation magic before he died. No wonder he used such complex magic, Hiram clarified. It turns out that's how he knows him. The dragon excitedly stated that of course he knows. This is the first time in history that a demon almost defeated a demon god. This story is famous even among the ancient dragons. The ancient dragons gave him the nickname of Great Demon King, Demon God Slayer. The dragon realized why his father had told him to live here. Hiram was surprised that his father had told him that, and clarified when. It was about 500 years ago when he was still living with his father. The guy really did look like a great demon king. Hiram clarified if he had seen him once before. The dragon asked if the king remembered the name Ermengarde. Hiram, of course he did. Yorm noted that it was his father, because when he was young, he had been able to still catch a glimpse of the king, the great dragon king Ermengarde. The name of the ancient dragon he had fought many battles with in his struggle for power, and the strongest dragon he had fought in those times. Not only a vassal, but a loyal friend and advisor. Was the eldest among the ancient dragons. He was 10,000 years old. He possessed great power and wisdom. He often went to him for advice. Perhaps he had sent his son to guard Hiram, though there had been no order from him. Now Hiram remembered, it was Ermengarde who had advised him to become human. Ermengarde went to the king and said that if he lost to the demon god and used the magic of reincarnation, then please let him be reborn as a human. At that time, he thought it was too risky. Reincarnation magic is very difficult, and the chance of success is slim. Besides, if you change race, the chance is even lower. So he prepared a formula to reincarnate into a demon. But the moment he was supposed to die, he changed his magic. One of the main reasons why he decided to become human was because of Ermengarde's advice. Hiram noted that Yorm had said he was called the demon god's killer. He thought it was the god who had defeated him. Yorm replied that Hiram had died first. The king wondered what happened next. After the god's punishment, not only the demon god's body was destroyed, his spiritual body was no less affected. Hiram was very interested and asked for more details. God's punishment is a terribly powerful spell, but its effects are enormous. If you hit it hard enough, you can get hurt yourself. Hiram clarified whether God's punishment was not applicable to the human race. Yorm replied that it was not, so God's punishment could only be applied to beings with blessings. Hiram asked what happened to the demon god after that. Father Yorma suggests that he has created a cocoon for himself and is hiding in it. He also said, his spirit is so damaged that he is on the verge of death and cannot return to the divine world. Hiram accepted this, meaning the demon god is hiding somewhere zero in the physical world. Hiram thanked him. It was a very informative story. Yorm noted that there was no shame and defeat at the hands of him, the great demon king. He was glad that Hiram was the last one he would see. As Hiram has already said, Yorm is very strong. Hiram doesn't lie. Yorm thanked, honored. If he met his father, let him tell him that Yorm had fought bravely. Hiram wanted his body after all, so let him kill him without hesitation. Hiram declared that he did want the dragon's body. Hiram called Yorm to serve him, to help him conquer the world. Hiram would bring down the demon god, and then he would conquer the world. Yorm didn't believe it, to which Hiram replied that he wasn't lying. Yorm agreed he would transcend the pride of the ancient dragon and serve him. He will go with him, his king. Hiram noted that Yorm is quite agile. He is the most agile of the ancient dragons. Yorm asked his king what his instructions would be. Hiram has none so far. They must find the location of the demon boon. Yorm remembered something and shared with Hiram that there were many treasures here. He could use them as he wished. Hiram clarified if he was sure. The king thought that for dragons, collecting treasures was a very important hobby. Yorm doesn't like treasure. He said he was giving them to Hiram before. These gold and silver coins are his legacy. Come to think of it, Hiram told Ermengarde where his hiding place was. Hiram clarified that it was all collected from his hiding places. Yorm noted that he had collected some of it himself from the neighborhood. He started pulling something out, saying that this one had a cool uniform. Hiram noted that even Yorm liked this. All those shiny things in odd shapes, though every dragon has its own tastes. Hiram clarified if Ermengarde had collected the rest. Yorm confirmed that he had. His father had left everything to him. He had been living here since before his father disappeared. Ermengarde said that different artifacts had interesting effects, but the most interesting part was meeting Hiram. Hiram was thoughtful. He built a nest to guard my tomb and left Yorm as soon as he grew up. He wonders what he's up to. Hiram is worried. He hopes they will meet again. Yorm asked his king to look. His father told him to keep this thing safe for him. Hiram recognized the thing and asked to see. He had given a similar necklace to Filthy as a talisman, so it was important to keep it safe. He wore it in a past life. It was a magical tool that helped him find Filthy when she was lost. The color of the light indicated her state, or rather, her level of magic. He kept an eye on Filthy. She was a demoness with great potential. It was the level of magic that determined longevity. He wouldn't be surprised if she was still alive. The flickering green color means she's alive. However, he can't see her location, and he wonders why. Hiram inquired if Ermengarde had said anything about Filthy. Jormungand said nothing, whereupon the dragon asked the king if he was sad. Hiram stated that he was happy that Filthy was alive. They would find them both, Filthy and the demon god. Yorm stated that he would do his best. Hiram is counting on him. In the treasury was a magical item called a magic bag. It has a huge capacity and never feels heavy. Hiram decided to take all the treasures that Ermengarde had left behind. After that, he called to Yorm to go on his way. Yorm informed him that if they went straight down this road, they would find a city. Hiram inquired who now ruled the land. Yorm heard that after Hiram's death, the country was divided and wars broke out. That's when Hiram noticed an orc. However, isn't he too big? He must be an orc lord. Yorm didn't understand why he was just standing there. He had never seen an orc just standing on a tract. Hiram suggested that he had better get out of the way. Suddenly, the very girl Hiram had met appeared. She stated to the orc that her name was Lwymer Orthwile. It was her duty to take the orc's life. Hiram pointed out to Yorma that it was Lumiere. The dragon clarified if they knew each other, or rather, if she knew the king. Hiram replied that he had met her in front of the tomb. She told him that she had come to slay the dragon. She is quite confident and a good swordsman as well. Yorm noted to his king that this elfess, though young, was as brave as a true hero. No wonder she had broken the seal of the tomb. Yorm offered to help her. She might not be able to handle him. Suddenly, Lumiere's sword broke, even though it is magical. The guys assumed she had been sold a fake sword. He remembered not to take his eyes off his opponent. Elves are skilled in magic, yet Lumiere is attacking an orc with a broken sword. Hiram concluded that it looks like Yorm is right. Heroes don't like to use ordinary magic. They are only interested in powerful and unique spells. Maybe she doesn't even know how to use elven magic. Hiram decided to help her. Hiram told Lumiere that if she didn't use magic, at least let her buy a good sword. Lumiere was amazed, and she thanked Hiram. He is strong. He must have trained very hard. Hiram replied that it was nothing. There is such a thing. Lumiere stated that she owed him her life and would never forget it. Hiram accepted this, and stated that he had been eager to ask her about the country. Hiram pointed out that he had just been living in the mountain wilderness since he was born, and had only now come out. Lumiere agreed to tell him everything she knew herself. Hiram asked the girl if she had done something to offend the orcs. On their way to the dragon, a merchant met them and asked for help. He told them that the orc lord was blocking the road. Lumiere was worried about the merchants. Hiram stated that she should go and help them then. He would take care of it. He held out his sword to her, for without it she would protect no one. He asked her not to think about it. He had already shown her how strong he was. He could handle it now. Lumiere agreed and thanked him. Hiram apologized to Yorm, for it was his sword. Yorm noted that all the treasure was now his. Hiram pronounced 102 first, and then decided on 104. He used elemental magic, a magic bullet, and fired 104 shots. Yorm said to his king that it was amazing. The number of shots was unbelievable. Hiram noted that it is elemental magic after all. They were done here, so they would go to find the Lumiere. Yorm, though she doesn't like Gers, but she can share valuable information. Lumiere got an arrow in her back and didn't understand why. The man called her a fool. She didn't realize she was being tricked. He urged the others to get out of here. They noted that Lumiere has a good sword, and it can be sold. He could be taken away, and the girl could be left here to be fed to the orcs, though it would offend them to leave such a pretty girl behind. One of them agreed. He had always wanted to have fun with an elven girl. Lumiere asked them why. It's all about money and fun. They can't wait to see the desperation in the eyes of a man who hasn't worked a day in his life. The man wonders what Lumiere is like when she is humiliated by someone she was trying to protect. He called her an elf princess. Suddenly, someone ordered a menacing disappearance. The traders asked him who he was. Hiram replied that he was an ordinary traveler passing by. He looks weak, but he is young. They will be able to sell him for good money. One of the men ordered them to hold him. Hiram remarked that he was smart, after which he punched him. The others were shocked and threw themselves at Hiram. Hiram dealt with them and walked over to Lumiere and asked if she was okay. He noted that she was fine now. The girl thanked him. He asked her not to worry and used the treatment. The girl thanked him again. Easy, better, much better. Hiram noted that the girl had fainted. The healing spell was too strong, apparently. Yorm noted that demons have a hard time mastering healing magic, but he's human now, so he needs to try harder. Hiram needed to be more careful. The king decided he needed to clean up before going into town. One of the merchants was outraged as to why a human was protecting an elf. Hiram clarified if they were slave traders. He saw that they had magical items to attract orcs and an amulet to scare them away. They used them to attract orcs and protect themselves. It was all a trap to kill Lumiere. The merchant was also a bandit. It's strange to see an orc lord standing in the middle of the road. Then the sudden attack of the pack. At the same time, they were not attacked by a gang. For bandits, magic items are expensive. They were most likely given by a powerful mage who wants Lumiere dead. Hiram poked the brigand on the head and asked who hired them. The peddler yelled that he didn't know what Hiram was talking about. Hiram clarified if he was trying to cover for him, it was a strong mage after all. The merchant stated that he really doesn't know. Yorm noted that maybe he really didn't know. Hiram agreed, but it would be dangerous in the city without that information. Yorm checked with His Majesty to see if they would spare them. Hiram showed him the bell and asked if Yorm knew what it was. Yorm replied that it was a magical instrument to summon orcs. Hiram confirmed this. The rules are always the same. Survival always depends on luck. After a while, Lumiere woke up and said she could stand up. Hiram asked her if she was all right. The girl thanked him for lending her the sword and helping her. Hiram replied that it was nothing. He would give her the sword back. Lumiere stated that it was expensive after all. Hiram noted that if she wanted to give back, she would do it in the city. Lumiere thanked and replied that that was what they would do. She wondered about those merchants. Hiram replied that they were just bandits, nothing more. Perhaps they had already been eaten by orcs, because he had seen one nearby. Lumiere accepted this information. Yorm shared with his master that he likes people who exaggerate. Hiram suggested going back to the city, taking more people there. They can't carry a dozen bodies on their own. Lumiere doesn't even know. She does, however, have a mission to kill an ancient dragon. Hiram noted that when they met, she talked about it. Yorm stated that he didn't think she could do it. Hiram stated to the girl that all is calm. He spoke from the ancient dragon and made him leave the mountain. So now, and can't go to the city in peace. Lumiere did not believe him. He clarified if she needed proof because of the order. The girl agreed. Hiram replied that then a witness is needed. It is the best proof. Then he asked her to tell more to the country. She remembered that she had promised him. They are located in the kingdom of Orthvale. Hiram pointed out that that is her last name. Lumiere stated that yes, she was the king's daughter and the first princess. He remembered the bandits calling her the princess of the elves. In other words, they knew exactly who she was. Hiram wants to know something, but first let her tell him about her country. Lumiere began to narrate. A great power that united the continent 100 years ago. The rulers of Orthvale are elves. The elves are the most respected race. Behind them are the beastmen and dwarves, and the lowest is the humans. The elves oppress the human race, and she is a member of the royal family. Lumiere thinks that's why the bandits hate her. She asked Hiram if he could please forgive her. Hiram asked her if she hates people too. She replied that no, she didn't. Hiram didn't understand what she was trying to say. Lumiere noted that she is a member of the royal family, and she bears the burden of what her kin do. She wants to make things right, to end the domination of the elves, but she's not succeeding. Hiram noted that she doesn't oppress humans, even trying to help them. Lumiere stated that she was so helpless. Hiram stated that he had no reason to hate her. Among them, elves have both bad and good representatives, just like humans. Lumiere thanked him. Hiram inquired about the demon country. Lumiere had heard that there was a whole continent somewhere, that demons ruled there. Hiram noted that the girl hadn't talked about demons before. Lumiere replied that they didn't have many. 300 years ago, there was a brutal war between demons and elves. The demons were strong and the elves suffered quite a bit. However, they were able to drive them off the continent. Lumiere shared that they nicknamed it the Holy War because the elves got their continent back. The girl checked with Hiram to see if he knew where he would be spending the night. The boy replied that he had just come down from the mountains, so he didn't know yet. Lumiere suggested he stay at their house. They would give him a warm bed and a bath. Hiram noted that sounded good. Hiram wondered if he would be able to run it. He answered her aloud that he was very glad he had met her. Hiram called out to Yoram. Lumiere excitedly clarified that it was a small dragon. Hiram confirmed that it was, and noted that his name was Yoram. Lumiere asked if she could pet him, to which she received permission. Lumiere announced that they were almost there, 5 minutes to go. Everyone was happily announcing the return of the princess. They were very happy that she was all right. They asked her to give up this idea of subduing the ancient dragon. It wouldn't work, no matter how many lives were lost. The ancient dragon is not a creature that can be dealt with by human forces. He is with the gods. Lumiere noted that she was the one who made them worry. The girl asked everyone to remain calm. She pointed to Hiram-san, saying that he had convinced the dragon to leave the mountain. People began to thank him for taking care of the princess. Hiram pointed out that he hadn't even done anything like that. Someone pointed out that saving the princess was actually a significant transgression. After half an hour, Hiram finally managed to break out of the crowd. It seems that the residents belonging to the human species are very fond of Lumiere. But here was the Order of Knights. No one even came to greet them. Lumiere notified Hiram that they were in place. Hiram asked the girl if the mansion was hers. Lumiere replied that she had gotten it as her own when she moved here as the head of the knighthood. The maids welcomed the girl back. Lumiere asked Hiram to make himself at home from now on. He could rest as long as he needed. Lumiere notified Hiram that dinner was ready for Yoram, so why don't they all eat together? Hiram thanked her. Lumiere apologized. He is of the human race, but still perfectly capable of healing magic. Hiram replied that there are various reasons for that, and to put it bluntly, he thinks it's a hardening gained in battles. He clarified if Lumiere was worried that she didn't have magic. The girl was shocked, he realized. Hiram noted that her sword was broken, but she didn't use magic either. That was unusual for elves. Lumiere replied that his assumptions were correct. She could not use magic. Her royal blood obliged her to join the military, where she was appointed head of the Third Order of Knights. But since she doesn't have magic, the knights don't obey her. Hiram thinks it is only a problem in terms of troop management. Lumiere stated that she, the disgrace of the royal family, was called a Princess Numbskull. Hiram now understood everything. So the girl went to subdue the ancient dragon alone. Lumiere approached him and asked him to teach her magic. Hiram wondered why she wanted him to teach her. The girl noted that of all the species, humans were the worst at using magical powers. However, his healing magic is far cooler than any other elf's, though they are the ones considered the professionals of healing. That deserves respect. Yoram turned to His Majesty, saying, "You can't. After all, the girl is a hero." Hiram noted that it would be interesting that way. He noted to Lumiere that since they'd gotten this far, he would also be frank. Maybe she wouldn't even believe it. He is an unusual man. He has been in battles is right, but not in this world. The girl didn't understand what he meant. Hiram stated that he had been reborn. In his world, he was a demon king, by the way. He clarified if Lumiere knew about Hiram the Demon King. Lumiere apologized, but she didn't know. Hiram noted that of course she didn't know. That was 500 years ago. He's a demon, and a demon king at that. Maybe she had changed her mind. Lumiere replied that among elves and among humans, there are bad and good. That's what he told her. Then there are both good and evil demons among the demons, and besides, the Demon King is no doubt a pro at magic. If he becomes her teacher, it will be just fine. Lumiere bowed to Hiram, once again asking him to teach her magic. Hiram asked her not to call him teacher. Lumiere thanked him. Hiram stated that he would teach him everything. If a man were to be the princess's teacher, it could attract a lot of attention. Lumiere noted that a teacher is a teacher, but fine, she would just call him by his first name. The girl asked if Hiram would like a bath. After the battle and the road, he was very tired. Hiram thanked her. He would. Hiram had a terrible dream involving Filthy. He ordered Yoram to wake up. The dragon noted that the elves are masters at making beds. Hiram noted they would certainly be better at it than dragons. Lumiere greeted Yoram and Hiram. Hiram greeted her, having been working here since morning. The girl clarified what they would be doing today. They didn't have any special plans today. Hiram offered the girl to practice her magic. Lumiere was pleased and thanked him. To begin with, magic is divided into two types. To a certain extent, she uses the magic that her body produces. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to fight with that blunt blade against the Orc Lord. Lumiere didn't believe that she was using magic. Hiram noted that the only ones who can't use magic outside of their bodies are those labeled powerless. You can't teach everything in a day like that, so they'll start by practicing the basics. First, she needs to extend both arms forward. Imagine magical streams flowing all over her body. Direct them with your hands. Imagine the magic flowing to the palms of your hands. Lumiere has a large supply of magic. Her control is also quite good. However, to wield the complex magic of a hero, one should keep practicing the basics. It is the shortest way. Hiram noted that is fine, and they will call it a day. Hiram noted that she needs to practice every day in her free time. Lumiere understood him. They still have time. He suggested that the girl walk around the city and see how the people lived. Lumiere stated that since he wished to do so, she would show him. A tour of the city would help to adapt more. Hiram thanked her. However, she was a princess. She would stand out too much. Lumiere replied that it was fine. She could disguise herself. The girl apologized to him for waiting. Hiram clarified if it was her disguise. Lumiere replied that no one would recognize her in that outfit at all. She asked him to call her Lumi. They might be exposed if he addressed her as Lumiere. Dragon noted that she hadn't given her name much thought. One of the children recognized the princess. The girl asked to be quiet. She is dressed like that because she is hiding her position. Hiram noted that the elves ran the beautiful cities. Lumiere noted that there were wealthy townspeople in the neighborhood, and she wasn't headed there. The children were happy to see Lumiere's sister. The girl asked them how they were doing around here. Hiram turned to one boy and asked if he was okay. He could heal him with magic. After that, Hiram used healing. The children were amazed. One girl remarked that the dragon was cute. She reminded Hiram of Filthy. Filthy had brought him a baby Jormungand once, so the king would remark how cute it was. The children asked if it was a lizard with wings. Hiram replied that his name was Yorm. He is still flying. Lumiere noted that the boy is very kind to the children. Perhaps he just sees them as Filthies. Hiram shared with Lumiere that Filthy was the girl she raised when he was a demon lord, and when she was 10, he died. Lumiere clarified if he was worried. It's been 500 years. She's definitely living somewhere. He recognized it with a magical tool. 500 years must have grown her strong. He wished he could meet her, just once. Someone turned to Lumi-san and thanked her for her help that time. Lumiere clarified how the master was feeling now. The girl replied that it was much better and thanked Lumi. The master asked Lumi-san to serve him. Lumiere apologized. She is showing the city to Hiram-san today, so she can't. Hiram asked her not to worry so much. It was also part of his tour of the city, so let her listen to what the people were saying. The girl thanked him. Yoram turned to His Majesty, noting that the girl was a clever girl who listened to everyone's problems, but was she strong enough to solve them? Hiram noted that it was unlikely to work out that way with everyone, but the people asking for advice would probably be upset, wouldn't they? The old men noted that their princess listens even to people as lost as they are. How beautiful she is. Hiram asked the men if he could ask them something. The men agreed. He asked them to tell him about the princess. She even comes to the slums to listen to the locals, and he takes their words to the Lord to see if anything can be done about it. If they had gone directly to him, no one would have listened to them, or they would have been imprisoned. Hiram asked them to tell them about the Lord. The men said that things were not going well with him. He's a former administrative official who bribed the chancellor to become a lord. Suddenly, one of them turned to Hiram, noting that he is strong, right? So let him keep an eye on the princess. Her every move is being watched by her people all the time. She is in a difficult position. Hiram clarified about the predicament and asked for more details. The chancellor's daughter had married the king and given birth to the first prince. And the chancellor, by all accounts, wants to put him on the throne by all means. And the chancellor apparently wants to put him on the throne by all means. In order to weaken the princess's influence, the chancellor struck at the knight serving her and then exiled her here. The chancellor's faction holds power in the royal court, and His Majesty is no more than a mere puppet. Hiram mentally noted that Lumiere has no allies right now, neither in the court itself nor among the knights. Yet she still smiles and does what she can for them. And everyone in this city is grateful to her. He is sure of it. So they ask him to protect their princess. Hiram accepted their request. He would do what he could. They thanked him, or she had no strong allies at all. The next day of practicing magic, Lumiere's magic began to work. Hiram noted, as expected of a heroine, her powers were growing at an abnormal rate. Hiram notified her that they were finished. A maid brought them a drink. Lumiere thanked her. Yoram shouted that it was delicious. Here, Lumiere clarified, wondering if the dragon had just spoken. In fact, Yoram is an ancient dragon that it should have killed by now. Hiram told it to be quiet because he thought a talking dragon would scare the locals. Lumiere clarified that the ancient dragon turned out to be his dragon. Yoram agreed, and he hoped that the girl would not turn away and keep an eye on him too. Lumiere stated that she was pleased to meet Yoram. The dragon replied that he was pleased as well. Hiram noted that now that they had seen Lumiere off, they could walk around the city. Something caught their attention. The Beastmen children stated that they had just asked them to pass their words on to the princess. The knights responded by telling them to get out of the way. They are too pushy, a filthy, inferior race. Hiram pushed the guard away. He asked the boys if they were in one piece. The kid remarked that it was cool. Hiram was so strong. Hiram replied that he was just the king of the weak. He asked what had happened here. The kid said that monsters have appeared on the outskirts of the city, and they are climbing deeper into the city. The road is blocked. People can't escape from them. Hiram said he would go there and ask them to lead him. The people asked the knights to open up to them because they're already being eaten by a monster. They have children. The knights answered that if they opened the gate, he would also enter. Mr. Elf came out and ordered them not to open the gate. They'll have more children. People didn't understand how the master could do that. The Lord said that the life of an elf was far more valuable than the lives of some humans. Hiram turned to him and said that if he was not going to protect the people, he had better resign. Let him take an example from Lumiere. The knights got angry. How dare he even open his filthy mouth at the Lord? Let him prepare to die. The Lord seriously asked how dare he mock him. The Lord shouted that he deserved to die, after which he shouted at Hiram to die. Hiram noted that it was a bit hot. If he can use magic, he can fight. If he joined the knights, he could defeat the orc leader. The Lord called him a fool. Why should a noble like him fight for inferior men? Just as Hiram thought, he is a dumb animal. He threw the Lord to the orc leader. Hiram checked with the knights to see if it was okay for them not to help the feudal lord. The knights told him to keep quiet. Hiram stated that he would save him himself. They would be grateful. Then Lumiere appeared and said she would go too. She was told not to make a fool of herself. Someone laughed that she was a weak princess teaming up with a useless race. The children thanked Hiram. Lumiere asked if anyone else was still there. One of the children told the princess that they were fine. Lumiere said that was reassuring, so let them keep the rest. Hiram gave Lumiere the sword. The girl thanked him. Lumiere tried to visualize the magic flowing inside her body. Lumiere declared to Hiram-san that she had done so. Hiram noted that she had gotten stronger since last time, though he hadn't taught her anything particularly serious. Lumiere stated that it was all thanks to his teachings. The children began to thank the princess. Hiram asked them to wait for her. This wasn't over yet. Lumiere worriedly asked Hiram-san what it was. An adult zombie dragon appeared. Even though this dragon is dead, its soul is bound to the corpse. It is a dragon turned undead. Hiram checked with Yorm. By any chance it was an acquaintance of his. Hiram checked with the girl to see if she could handle it, to which the girl agreed. Lumiere asked to leave it to him. Hiram asked the children to stand behind him. It was dangerous there. The children shouted worriedly to the princess. Hiram stated that if she was able to cut the dragon's breath, she was not at all afraid of its roar. And even durable scales are like paper to the hero. No wonder it is called the natural enemy of dragons. He has almost nothing to do. Yorm noted that this is why he doesn't like heroes. Lumiere yelled to the boys that you can't do that. The dragon wanted to attack the children, but Hiram was nearby and protected them. Hiram called out to Lumiere, to which the girl stated that she was here. Hiram stated that it was excellent. Lumiere thanked him. The children also thanked the princess. The boys also thanked Hiram for protecting them. He asked them not to worry about him. If anyone should be thanked, it was the princess. The princess clarified that everyone was alive, which the children confirmed. The children asked the princess if she was injured. Hiram realized that this was another trap for Lumiere. If he hadn't come, she'd probably rush after the hero's egg alone. After Lumiere was free of the manor owner's control, she'd probably go to fight the Orc Lord. Then the zombie dragon will go on a rampage. The enemy doesn't like that either. Hiram turned to the feudal lord. Yoram noted that he must have gone completely insane. Hiram agreed that it was indeed very suspicious. Well hidden, there is a curse on him. Yoram wondered why anyone would curse the owner of the manor. Hiram noted that the first thing that came to mind was that his speech was sealed. Also, this curse looked like demon magic. Hiram called out to Yorm, since the feudal lord was useless. The next morning, Lumiere asked Hiram to listen. His Majesty had invited the Demon King to the capital. The boy clarified what for. Lumiere informed that it was to recognize his achievement and reward him. Hiram doesn't think he has accomplished any achievement. Yeah, and isn't that a little fast? He had defeated the dragons only yesterday. Lumiere shared that they have a special magical communication device. Hiram thinks it's just a formal reason. He's fine with it, but he has a condition. She's going with him, too. There could be trouble if something happens to Lumiere. Lumiere asked him not to worry about that. She was assigned to accompany him, so she would be there for him anyway. Hiram agreed. Lumiere went to get ready. Yorm clarified with the Lord if he was sure. There are a lot of bad guys out there after all. Hiram noted that the dragon was right. Outlaws, an orc lord, and a zombie dragon. They were sure to have some kind of trap ready. Either way, one wants to see what will be interesting. Hiram told Yorm to go to the capital. The dragon got curious as well. Someone asked for a repeat. One of the servants stated that Hiram had been reborn as a human. Queen Irmgard sat on the throne. She was told that the information was accurate. The magic of rebirth is complicated. Even he could be wrong. But to be human. Another demon noted that he would most likely cause them a lot of trouble. The queen agreed with him. One of the demons offered to get rid of him and asked to entrust it to him. He keeps order in the kingdom of Ortville and asked to entrust it to him. The queen stated that she relies on him. The demon thanked her. Queen Irmgard ordered him to kill Hiram and bring his head to her. The queen was angry that he was reborn means and human. He is weak, Hiram, no longer Hiram. Hiram apologized for waking her up. Lumiere replied that it was okay and clarified what it was. Hiram shared that he had been looking for Filthy. No results. It wasn't as easy as it seemed at first glance. Lumiere urged him not to give up. They would definitely meet, and she would help in any way she could. Hiram thanked her. They would be in the capital by lunchtime tomorrow. They should go to bed. He wished the girl good night. The next day, Lumiere shared that she had a little sister here, and she asked if they could meet her. Hiram agreed without a problem. Lumiere thanked her, for she was sure she would be pleased. Hiram clarified that it was her mansion. Lumiere noted that no, only her little sister lived here. He wondered why separately. Lumiere noted that since she was sick and was being treated. Hiram noted that the servants here seemed quite trained, if they were all from the kingdom. Hiram asked if they all knew how to fight. Lumiere refuted that. Not everyone gets knighthood training. They came. This is her little sister's room. The little girl rejoiced that it was indeed her sister. Lumiere announced that she was back. She is so happy that her sister is okay. Lumiere is happy too that she was able to meet, and she doesn't look so bad. Lumiere's little sister asked who it was with her. Lumiere introduced that it was Hiram and Yorm, and she introduced her sister by name, Selena Otterville. The girl was pleased to meet them and thanked them for taking care of her sister. Hiram noted that Yorm was an ancient dragon. Selene wondered if it was the one they told about in the legends. Yorm clarified that she wasn't afraid of him. Selene was amazed that he could talk. Yorm stated that he was actually strong. The girl admitted that he wasn't scared to be around him. Yorm noted that then the Owen could pet him. Selena is very willing. The girl wondered how they met. Lumiere shared that Hiram had saved her from bandits. Selene wanted to know more details. When Lumiere fought the Orc Lord, Lumiere confessed that it's been so long since she's seen her sister so energetic. Hiram is glad that she'll get some rest and feel better. However, the doctor said that it would not be easy. Hiram noted that indeed her illness is almost incurable. However, he is well versed in it. Hiram asked Lumiere not to worry about her. He remarked that it was a nice room. Lumiere didn't get it. She thought it was an ordinary room. One of the servants turned to Her Highness and noted that everything was ready for dinner. Lumiere was surprised that it was so late. Yorm stated that she was so tired that she wanted to sleep with Celine. Lumiere clarified about dinner. Yorm is a dragon. He may not eat. Hiram stated that he relied on the dragon. Yorm replied that he could smell that something was definitely wrong, so he would see to it. Luimer asked if he was going to bathe today. The boy stated that it would be a good idea. The servants wanted to help him, but he said he shouldn't. Finally, he was alone. But then he realized that no, there was someone. Could it be that servant was the murderer after all? However, it was Lumiere. Hiram asked her what was wrong. If she'd gotten this far, there was something she could only tell in a place like this. He asked her what was wrong, let her talk if there was a problem. Lumiere noted that it was about Celine. She has a request, Hiram clarified, wondering if something would happen to her. Lumiere isn't clear yet, but if she is gone, she will have no one to rely on. She asked Hiram to please be her support. Hiram pointed out that Owen can rely on him. Lumiere asked him if he would protect her. Hiram stated that he promised he would protect her. Lumiere thanked him. Lumiere cannot trust anyone, not even her father. That is why she puts her hopes in him. One of the servants asked Hiram how he bathed. Hiram replied that it was fine. Everyone is watching them everywhere after all. The other servant noted that he would probably want a drink, so let him have one. Hiram thanked him. The other servant invited him into the room. The servant wished him a good night and told him to rest. Hiram noted that it was like being in a prison, honestly. This building is probably what used to be for criminals. Celine was not safe here. Hiram noted how sleepy he felt, probably something put in that drink, but whatever. First, he would think of a way out of the situation. Someone decided to attack Hiram while he was sleeping. Hiram stated that and had the nerve to attack him. It was Lumiere, and she began to apologize. Hiram stated that she did not apologize and asked her what had happened. Hiram clarified with her why she had stopped. She would be able to. Lumiere continued to apologize and pulled out her dagger. She pointed it at herself and stated that she trusted Celine with it. Hiram threw the dagger away. He specified Prime Minister, which means he's right. It seems she was told to kill him in exchange for Selena's treatment. Lumiere pointed out that her disease couldn't be cured unless she had a special medicine. The minister promised to give it to her. She couldn't help but fight back. She had her little sister's life in her hands, but she still couldn't kill him. Hiram pointed out that that's why she figured that since he'd spotted her, she had no way out. So she decided to commit suicide. Lumiere apologized. Hiram asked her not to worry. Everything was already fine with Selena. Lumiere didn't understand what that meant. Hiram stated that the disease was a curse. When he entered her room, he immediately noticed something strange. So he walked around with a curious look, actually breaking curses. She already knows the level of his healing magic after all. Hiram clarified if Lumiere didn't believe him. The girl stated that she believes, wants to believe. Hiram asked her to rely on him then. Then the knights appeared and addressed Her Highness Lumiere Ortville. They had received word that she had made an assassination attempt on a guest of the king. Hiram asked them how they dared to enter without permission. The knights urged him not to stop them from taking her away. Hiram clarified, for it was necessary for the girl to go to the king. The knights didn't understand what he meant. Hiram stated to keep them out of the way underfoot, the inferior ones. Hiram urged the girl with him. It would be tedious for them to go to him tomorrow anyway. They would get there on Yorma. Now they should hurry to Celine's. They wondered if the guards were watching her room. Hiram noted that Yoram had done well. Yoram will answer His Highness that Celine doesn't have a scratch on her. Lumiere asked Celine if she was okay. Celine asked her little sister worriedly. Hiram clarified with the girl how she was feeling. Selena replied that she was super and nothing hurt. Hiram noted that he was glad, but it was nighttime and suggested that they talk tomorrow. Selena said goodnight and fell asleep. Hiram noted that there was no sign of that sickness. Let her sleep it off. Lumiere was happy that Celine was in one piece. She thanked them. Yoram checked with His Highness to see if anything was wrong. Hiram thought that the enemy could be more than just the prime minister. Yoram was shocked to see if he was the one who had started all this. Hiram thinks on one hand, yes, but the circumstances are too strange. It's as if the whole thing was set up on purpose. The minister generally doesn't care if the assassination is successful, because he would have gotten rid of the princess anyway, and succeeded in doing so. Lumiere apologized once more. Hiram stated that he would go to the minister now and find out. He asked if Lumiere would wait for them here. The girl stated that she would go too. It was for their own country after all. Hiram noted that before he went, he wanted to warn that the minister might have prepared and left many traps along the way. Lumiere noted that she was very naive. Hiram urged her not to worry. It's not her fault. He thinks she's been cooperating with the demons for a long time. Yoram clarified why he thought that. First of all, that zombie dragon thing. Magic obviously wasn't one of the existing ones in this country. And plus that curse in Selena's room, that's demon magic. Hiram called them over to the minister's office. He checked with Yoram to see if they could fly him. The dragon, of course, agreed. He would be taking Her Highness for a ride for the first time. Hiram clarified if Lumiere knew where the Prime Minister was now. Lumiere replied that he must be at a ball at the royal palace. Hiram thinks this is the perfect place to set a trap. This ball for royalty and aristocrats was organized by my uncle, the Archduke. Hiram's target is only the Prime Minister. He doesn't care about the rest. Once they get there, she may not follow him. Otherwise, her position may be severely shaken. Lumiere stated that she would follow him. Hiram hoped they would be lucky, and now they were performing. The knights ask Hiram who else he is. Lumiere stated that she would take care of them. Lumiere told them that she was the commander of the 3rd detachment of the knights and had come on urgent business to the Prime Minister. The knights replied that even though she was a princess, she was uninvited. A meeting with the Prime Minister is not possible. They asked to come by another day. Hiram stated that they did not ask his permission, and they went on with Lumiere. The knights asked Her Highness to wait. No one understood what all the fuss was about. To barge so rudely into a celebration, without even having an invitation, is not such unacceptable behavior. The Prime Minister addressed Her Highness. Lumiere replied that she was not here for a social event. The Prime Minister clarified that he was Hiram, right? Hiram pointed out that he came out on his own, and that's commendable. He wants to kill him after all. Let him come over and try. The Prime Minister noted that Hiram shouldn't be so nervous. He doesn't know what Her Highness told him, but he was in no way trying to kill him. He is quite talented despite being human. If he swears allegiance to him instead of the princess, he will ensure his protection. Hiram replied that he was not the princess's servant and certainly didn't need anyone's protection. Hiram wants to ask the question, did he have fun poisoning the second princess? How does it feel for him to team up with demons? Not just anyone, but the general of the Demon King's army. The Prime Minister clarified if he had any proof. Hiram pointed out that weaklings like him would never be able to set their terms to a demon general. To them, they were just bargaining chips. The Prime Minister stated that he was talking some kind of unbelievable nonsense. Hiram replied that it was okay if he didn't understand, but his death would cause a lot of trouble for the Demon King's army. If he dies, the Demon King's army will definitely reveal itself. The Prime Minister called him a thug and told him to die. The Prime Minister called him a petty brat. Hiram stated that he could not be defeated with such powers. The Prime Minister pointed out that the same was the spell of the court mages. Hiram noted that he contacted the Demon King's army in an attempt to kill him, and even without that, he knows that he manipulated the first princess into using a hostage and ordered her to kill him. The Prime Minister ordered that Hiram be finished off sooner rather than later. Hiram told him not to think that he would die an easy death. He would die slowly and painfully, begging for it to be over. The Prime Minister began to beg to save him. He called out to Mr. Ulgan. Lord Ulgan is the head of the 4 heavenly lords. Hiram pointed out that the reception of the head of the 4 heavenly kings is so tasteless. The minister stated that this is the demonic body. What a beautiful feeling. Hiram noted that only a complete idiot could call such a hideous appearance demonic. The Prime Minister humbly thanked Mr. Ulgan. The Prime Minister declared that the low elves bow to the Demon King and swear allegiance to him. People were shocked that the Prime Minister had collaborated with the Demon King's army. Why would he betray his homeland? This is his revenge. Didn't they belittle him for having human blood in him? None of them have done as much for this country as he has. But the demons must reward warriors for their services. They promised him that if he could forget this country, he would become its ruler. Lumiere asked him that if he relied on the demons, why he needed them with Celine. Who knows? Ulgan-san just ordered him to kill them. He was following his will. No matter how many times he tried to swat them, they kept surviving. Once he executes her, or at worst imprisons her, then Ulgan-sama will finally recognize his merit. Hiram asked the girl if she had any more questions. Lumiere replied that no, she had heard enough. Hiram addressed the monster and the former prime minister, saying that it was time for him to die. The monster called Hiram a pathetic little man. In his current form, he would easily defeat even an ancient dragon. Hiram clarified if he even knew anything from the ancients to say that. The beast commanded him to be silent. He called to behold. With such power, he would turn these lands into a pronounced wasteland. Their lives would make a fine offering to the Demon King. Hiram said that he didn't think the Demon King would like such a gift. Hiram fended off his attack, and the Prime Minister didn't realize what had happened. Hiram told him that the Demon King Hiram was in front of him. It would be a true honor for a monster like him to die at the hands of the Demon King himself. The monster was in great pain. He didn't understand why the creature was able to pierce his flesh. He didn't understand if it wasn't enough. The elves shouted that the traitor was there. The Prime Minister ordered them to shut up, and they didn't know about his secret dealings and helped him. They are all as guilty as he is. Maybe they didn't notice, but they really are useless to themselves. That's what he would tell them. Ulgan-san and the army would soon move here through the teleportation circle. Either way, they were finished. One elf noted what an abomination this was. The knights alerted that they had discovered a giant magic circle northeast of the palace. Monsters continued to continuously walk out of it, and it is necessary to smoke everyone immediately. The Prime Minister was telling the truth. The elves panicked, not knowing where to run. Maybe if they surrendered, their lives would be spared. They could exterminate all of them. Hiram asked them to be quiet. He would protect the capital. Let them be good boys, girls. Quietly wait here. Lumiere pointed out that they have already seen how strong Mr. Hiram is. She gives them her word that Mr. Hiram will definitely hold the victory. Hiram called for Yorm to come here. Hiram noted that it looked like the Demon King's army had arrived. We should deal with them. Let him give them a ride. They flew northeast. Hiram noted that they were all servants of Ulgan. He's gotten pretty good at transformation magic. Everyone's body is re-engineered to be as efficient a disposable pawn as possible. Lumiere noted that it was creepy. Yorm checked with His Majesty to see if he should burn them. Hiram gave him permission. Yorm can rely on him. Lumiere noted that this was how she sat an ancient dragon. Hiram said that ancient dragons are like the living embodiment of disaster, all because of their power. Hiram pointed out to Yorm that this was already his opponent. Yorm clarified if the Lord knew him, to which he agreed. Hiram ordered Yorm to keep firing at the monsters in the neighborhood, and let Lumiere finish off anyone who managed to escape Yorm's flames. He's counting on them. Yorm stated that they would easily defeat them. Hiram's opponent stated that Hiram was a former great demon king. His face and mana haven't changed since his past life. What a pity he became human. Ulgan is not going to swear allegiance to a pathetic and weak little man. Hiram replied that they did not want his loyalty. Hiram noted that he remembered him well. The member of the Secretariat is Ryota. Ulgan Chaptoy is the 4th-class secretary. Hiram believes that he is right. Ulgan thinks it's an honor that he remembers his name. A demon king will never forget the names of his subjects. Olga urged him not to talk nonsense. Does he still think he is a ruler? Does he have any idea how they demons have survived the last 500 years? 500 years ago, he fought their god and killed him. Because of him, they eventually lost their divine patronage. Day by day, their magic grew weaker. At the time, they controlled many races. They saw this as their chance and attacked them while they had the chance. Naturally, they, whose forces were lost, had no way to quell the rebellions. In just a few short years, they had lost most of their lands, including Ortville. They, once the proud rulers of the world, were forced to flee like rats to their tiny mainland. They lost their mana, their lands, they were stripped of everything. And it's all the fault of Hiram and his selfish desire to fight their god. Therefore, Hiram has no right to call himself Demon King. Hiram noted that there were 100 of them every day. He appealed to Ulgan that the divine patronage he so craved had been given to his predecessor in exchange for the lives of demons. Each day he sacrificed an even 100, those lives given to the demon god. Had Ulgan ever wondered what it was like for his fellows? Ulgan thinks it's a reasonable sacrifice. There is nothing wrong with giving the demon god the lives of commoners. To become the lunch of the demon god himself is an unprecedented honor for them. Hiram declared that he had had enough, wearing the title of demon commander, and yet he doesn't give a damn about his men. Absolutely unforgivable behavior. Only through death does he deserve forgiveness. Ulgan laughed. Redemption through death. Had he really thought of killing him? In a previous life, Hiram was invincible. But now things are different, and there is no way such an inferior race can defeat him. Hiram fetches him to go to him and check personally how weakened he is. He is Ulgan, the head of the 4 heavenly kings. There was no way a human could match him in strength. Hiram noted that it was a good strike. Then he wondered if Ulgan had run out of good attacks. Then it was his turn now. Ulgan stated that Hiram was a pathetic man. Yorm noted, which was to be expected from his majesty. Lumiere was worried about the Lord. Ulgan declared that he had not lost. He is the head of the 4 heavenly kings of the demon army, Ulgan Chaptua. Hiram noted that Ulgan's strength had not changed, and he was disappointed. He's too weak. All this time he has simply relied on the power of a god, and in the past 500 years, he hasn't even moved on his own. Demons don't have to cling to a god all the time. Isn't he unable to regain the lost independence? Hiram clarified if he was listening to him. He had once been his subject, so he would show him mercy and kill him quickly. Ulgan clarified that his majesty had a daughter, right? Hiram clarified if he was referring to Filthy. Ulgan clarified if Hiram wanted him to call Lady Filthy here. Hiram agreed. Hiram asked Ulgan what it was. Ulgan stated that wasn't he just talking about it, it was his dearest daughter, Lady Filthy. His Majesty must have noticed that Ulgan is good at transformation magic, as well as body enhancement magic. Hiram's daughter has become a vessel for their god spirit. Let His Majesty rejoice. Ulgan used all his talent to make Lady Filthy the most powerful being. Hiram intimidatingly started shouting Ulgan's name. An explosion of magical power, the power of a demon. No, the power of the Demon King himself. Hiram asked Ulgan if he could get Filthy back to normal. Ulga replied, "Who knows, and why would he do that? It is quite a complicated process." Hiram asked him where the demon god was. His body is now sealed in a cocoon. He's still healing from the battle with Hiram, but where the cocoon is, Ulgan won't tell Ulgan even under threat of death. Hiram declares that then it is better to kill him now. Ulgan declares that he is the one who will die here now. Ulgan turned to the spirit of their god because he hates the Demon King. He dared to kill him. Ulgan ordered the spirit to kill Hiram. Apparently, the spirit overcame the limitations of the contract. The spirit broke the shackles and attacked Ulgan. Hiram pointed out that it is too dangerous. If he reaches the city, everyone in the capital will be safeguarded. Hiram senses Filthy's mana in this creature, but it is surrounded by the mana of the demon god. He will try to separate them from each other first. The god's mana is too strong. He wouldn't be able to separate them. Hiram remembered a moment of Filthy. He had seen her once and noted that there she was. He had asked her if she was studying hard. She's so good. Hiram noted sadly what had been done to her. The spirit said something. Hiram wondered who was now speaking to him, Filthy or the demon god. Yorm appeared and destroyed the little spirits. He stated that he had overheard him talking, so he dared to speak up. As much as he valued his daughter, they would have to kill her. If he doesn't, this monster won't stop until it has burned the entire continent to the ground. Hiram noted to let it be that he must protect the city where the siren is. However, it is his duty to save Filthy. First, the god's spirit powers must be weakened. Hiram urged Yorm to not hold back and hit the spirit with all his might. Hiram would figure out a way to save Filthy and protect the city. Yorm agreed, since that's what Hiram says. Suddenly, Yorm was amazed that all the spirits had recovered. What were they? Hiram pointed out that they were the spawn of a demon god. Yorm stated that he would then burn them to the ground. Hiram backed Yorm up. He noted not to get hit by his blows. Hiram had not long ago been reborn as a human and had not yet fully mastered his powers. How frustrating to not be able to use his old powers to their fullest. Protect the city, preserve future generations, defeat the demon god, save Filthy. None of these goals can he give up. Lumiere appeared and drew Mr. Hiram's attention. She asked him to leave this little thing with her. He asked if she could handle it. The girl replied that he could rely on her. Hiram noted that they had not recovered from her blow. That's why she's a hero. It's the result of the blessing of a sacred god. Hiram asked her not to overdo it. If something happened to her, Celine would be upset. Lumiere stated that she would no longer risk her life in vain. Just then, Yorm appeared and addressed His Majesty. Hiram remarked that he was right on time and let him get on it. Lumiere stated that there is no one more important to me than Celine, and so she can understand how dear to him Mistress Filthy is. He's as good as the spirit. She believes that he can overcome the spirit and save Mrs. Filthy. Hiram thanked her. It's up to her. Lumiere told the spirit spawn that she would be their opponent. Yorm stated to His Majesty that he was not simply nicknamed the Fire Dragon of the Flaming Sun. He asked him to look closely. Yorm remarked, "So this is what the god's power is like. His barrier is too prosy." Hiram stated to keep up the attack while he could. Hiram asked the spirit how he felt about this. Hiram wondered if it was still not enough. He had already had time to recover from his and Yorm's attacks, but Hiram knows full well that the demon god is not so immortal. Hiram apologized to Filthy. She needs to be patient a little longer. Very soon he will save her. Hiram called Filthy by name. The girl replied that he called her, so she came. The king declared that he had a present for her. It was a pendant. Filthy asked if he made it. Somehow that wasn't cool. Hiram pointed out that while it didn't look cute, he put a lot of protection spells on it so they would keep the girl safe. He has one of those as well. That way they could always be in touch. Filthy thanked him and told him I liked it a lot. Hiram was puzzled. Is the spirit still recovering so they won't be done for a while yet? Lumiere noted that it was all strange. In such a critical situation, she is not the least bit nervous. Her body is so light and her movements are fast, no hesitation. These pawns are very strong, and yet she feels that she can handle them. After all, she has become stronger than before. She thanked Mr. Hiram for teaching her how to use her magic. She thanked her sister Selena. She was full of energy, and how she hadn't seen her like this in a long time. Hiram had saved her time and time again, and this time, she wanted to give him a helping hand too. She remembered his words, that in a past life when he was a demon king, he had a little girl in his care who was like a daughter to him. She'd been only 6 when he died, and he'd wanted to meet her at least once. Lumiere realized that if Mr. Hiram wanted to meet with Filthy, she wanted to help him save her. However, what could she do? This is when she noticed something and rushed straight at the spirit. Hiram screamed that the sword wouldn't work against him. However, from Lumiere's blow, the spirit bled. Still, all their attacks he immediately heals with a golden glow. Hiram didn't understand what had changed. Had the spirit of the demon god begun to detach? Or was it all about the hero's strength? The spirit stated that it was in pain. Hiram heard Filthy's voice. Lumiere asked Mr. Hiram to look closely at his chest. There was the amulet pendant he had given to Filthy 500 years ago. Hiram apologized to the girl. All this time, he had been by her side. One thing, his strength wouldn't be enough. He asked her to wait a while. The spirit urged the Lord to kill Filthy. Hiram stated that there was no way he would kill her. She should wait a little longer and not necessarily be rescued. The spirit continued to ask to kill. Hiram was telling her to be patient. He would get her out soon. The demon god choked on Filthy's consciousness and took control of her body. However, now they are making progress. It seems the power of the hero Lumiere can suppress the god's powers for a while. Hiram turned to Lumiere, stating that it would be dangerous, but he needed her strength. The girl confidently replied that she would help him. Hiram said that she didn't have to worry about protection. She would follow him, and when she got close enough to the spirit, she would cut it in half. Yorm stated to the spirit that he had forgotten to look around. Hiram gave a command to Lumiere to act now. Hiram told her not to worry and to tread. Lumiere turned to Filthy and stated that there wasn't much left and they needed to be patient. Hiram praised Lumiere for doing an excellent job. If you separate the god's power, Ulgan's technique alone wouldn't be a big problem. Hiram asked her to bear with her pleas. Yorm covered his master. Hiram didn't realize what this feeling was, if he had been merged with the demon god's soul. Even in his weakened state, his strength is astounding. First, Hiram destroy this soul, then get to his body and kill him. And finally finish him off. Hiram pulled out the pendant, and the spirit body began to dissolve. Everyone was overjoyed. Hiram caught Filthy and apologized to the girl for making her wait. Filthy cried while saying Hiram's name. Hiram stated that everything will be fine now. One of the demons came down into Ulgan's basement. He wondered what the hell he was doing here. This demon turned to Efgen, Lubos. Lubos turned to Carmelo, telling him that they were here helping Ulgan clean up his room. A dead man can hardly manage on his own anymore. Efgen stated that he was still an office rat after all. One of the 4 Sky Lords lost to humans. What a shame. Efgen turned to Carmelo and asked him why Ulgan didn't take these things with him to the battlefield. Lubos stated that she knew. He said they turned out to be too strong and he couldn't control them. Efgen summarized that he knew it. Ulgan was completely useless. Efgen decided to attack Carmelo, but then they were stopped. Carmelo turned to Franca's guard and asked her how to understand it. The women apologized. The Demon King summoned them to him, and she asked them to go to the palace sooner rather than later. Efgen replied that it would be done. They say Ulgan could create a spirit demon god. She knew the two were at each other's throats, but she can't believe he decided to use the spirit to fight against humans, not against her. The queen turned to Carmelo, noting that she and Ulgan were close, could team up for common goals. For example, they could make a plan to overthrow her. Carmelo stated that was impossible. He was blinded by his friendship with Ulgan and didn't notice his betrayal. He didn't even realize that he had messed with the demon god. Besides, he and Ulgan are different from each other. Carmelo's life will forever belong to Her Majesty. She asked if it was true. The other demons fell to their knees and declared that they swore their absolute loyalty to Her Majesty. The demon queen said that was reassuring. Then, they must get her Hiram's head. All the demons accepted her orders. The queen turned to the spirit. They say it can already come out and not hide. The spirit has approached the demon queen Ilmgrad. He will give her a piece of the god's power, but in return, he asks only to kill Hiram with this power. The queen refused, as she was not about to submit to the pathetic remnant of a god. The spirit declared that she was but a flea against him. How dare she oppose the will of her god? It is the height of recklessness and arrogance. Hiram shared that he was a little tired after all. Yorm noted that the battle air was awesome. After the battle, Ane went to the king and lifted the curse Ulgan had placed on him. Having recovered from his illness, he once again ascended to the throne. Under his leadership, Ortville would return to the right path. And Hiram and Filthy decided to live in the palace until she is fully recovered. Selena shared with Filthy that it's done like this. Filthy and Selena seemed to hit it off. Lumiere checked with the girls to see if they could help them. Yorm noted that it seems Miss Filthy is wary of the hero's egg after all. Hiram replied that the hero is a natural cancer of demons and dragons. He assumes that she subconsciously fears her power. Yorm noted that it was the hero's power that had helped them defeat the spirit of the demon god. He was so surprised at that moment. Hiram replied that it was either that, or it was a message from a holy deity. Yorm accepted this information, but it would be harder for the egg to awaken its full power after this. Hiram asked him not to worry about that. Now they needed to find out where the demon god's body was. Hiram asked Yorm where he thought it was. Neither Ulgan nor Filthy had given him any clues. Yorm suggested that maybe it was sealed. Filthy seconded this. After Hiram's death, a brutal war broke out, and it was sealed by the Dragon King Jormungand. Hiram was obligated to be reborn, so she decided to take a nap until then. Hiram was shocked. Why would his father seal her up? That's a betrayal. Hiram asked the dragon to calm down. He believes it was Jormungand's way of trying to protect Filthy. Hiram clarified with the girl if she didn't remember anything after that. Filthy replied that for about 50 years she had been asleep. Then 2 strangers came to her. One was a demon and the other an elf, like Lumiere. After that, she found herself these and heard only the demon god cursing Hiram. Hiram apologized to the girl for having to wait. However, she was safe now. Yorm was shocked by his father's actions. What on earth is he doing, allowing the seal placed on Her Highness to be broken? Yorm speculates that maybe his father is dead after all. Hiram finds it hard to imagine anyone being able to defeat the Dragon King. Suddenly, he felt traces of demonic energy, the remnants of Ulgan's army. You can't see it from here, but maybe there's a battle going on. Hiram asked Yorm to watch for Filthy, and he goes to check what's going on. Yorm asked to rely on him. Hiram sensed 3 demons and 1 beastman, 3 against 1. The beastman is only defending himself. It doesn't look like the remnants of Ulgan's army. It could be just a simple showdown. However, there are almost no demons in Ortville, and we're too lucky not to show up, right after the battle with the spirit of the demon god. Hiram decided why not take a closer look. He walked down, noting that there was a fight going on in the middle of a peaceful kingdom. He covered the beastman and wondered why they were fighting. The child asked Mr. Hiram to please help him. Hiram clarified that it turns out the child knows him. The demons noted that he is indeed a man. Hiram confirmed this. But who are they, if they are Ulgan's helpers? And they're good at controlling their mana and hiding their presence, probably assassins. Hiram noted that they're acting a little rough. Sacrificed precision for power. This spell could kill a first-rate mage just by hitting him. Maybe Hiram was disliked by some magician. They cloaked their presence right after the explosion. After something like that, they're obviously trying to make a surprise attack. Hiram saw that there was no one and wondered if they had escaped. So this explosion served as a distraction to give them time to get out of here. Even managed to destroy the teleportation circle so they wouldn't want it to track them. They're so careful, wielding magic, great at hiding their presence and suppressing their magical trail. Most likely a personal unit of someone at the top of the Demon King's army, if not the king himself. Hiram realized he'd been led around by the kid. He asked the child who she was and how she knew his name and what she was doing here. The girl asked Mr. Hiram to save Mr. Jormungand. He was very seriously wounded during the attack of that Demon King and the 4 heavenly kings. After that, the girl fainted.